Hello and welcome to Believe, Eschew, and Live. My name is Larry, and we're going to be continuing on through the book of Ruth, and this is going to be chapter 3. Let's get a little recap on the end of chapter 2. Remember, Ruth took home a large amount of grain. When Naomi saw it and asked where she gleaned today, and remember, she didn't know that it was Boaz's field that Ruth gleaned from. And when Ruth said it was Boaz, and then Naomi said, "This is our kinsman redeemer, a relative." Now, continuing on with the story, let's first read chapter 3.
Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her,
"My daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Now Boaz, whose young women you were with, is he not our relative? In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Therefore wash yourself and anoint yourself. Put on your best garment and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Then it shall be, when he lies down, that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go in, uncover his feet, and lie down, and he will tell you what you should do."
"All that you say to me, I will do."
So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law instructed her. And after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came softly and covered his feet and lay down. Now it happened at midnight that the man was startled and turned himself, and there a woman was lying at his feet. "Who are you?"
"I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative."
"Blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter, for you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, in that you did not go after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request, for all the people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman. Now it is true that I am a close relative. However, there is a relative closer than I. Stay this night, and in the morning it shall be that if he will perform the duty of a close relative for you, good, let him do it. But if he does not want to perform the duty for you, then I will perform the duty for you. As the Lord lives, lie down until morning."
So she lay at his feet until morning. And she arose before one could recognize another.
Do not let it be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. Bring the shawl that is on you and hold it.
And when she held it, he measured 6 ephahs of barley and laid it on her. Then she went into the city. When she came to her mother-in-law, she said,
"Is that you, my daughter?"
Then she told her all that the man had done for her. And she said,
"These 6 ephahs of barley he gave me, for he said to me, 'Do not go empty-handed to your mother-in-law.'"
"Sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will turn out. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day."
Now that we have read chapter 3, let's go back to the question, how could Naomi be supported by someone in her old age? Because she has no sons to provide for her. And clearly the levirate marriage law would not apply to this situation. And there was a need for this fundamental idea of a levirate marriage. The solution was to transfer the levirate marriage to the kinsman redeemer. And remember, in keeping this in mind, this is tradition. This was not in Yahweh's law. And the answer would be up to the kinsman redeemer. Now let's look at verse 1 and 2. We see that barley harvest was in full swing, and clearly Boaz and Ruth got to know each other. This is not dating. This was a mixed group of people. Remember, they were harvesting grain and barley and wheat together. And of course, clearly, Naomi wanted Ruth to have a new husband for safety and for shelter. That was generally only available to women by marriage. Of course, Naomi's plan was for Ruth to marry Boaz. And in verse 3, she told her to make herself attractive to Boaz by bathing and anointing herself in scented olive oils, and then put on a good outfit. She's telling her to change out of her widow's clothing outfit and into regular everyday clothing. Then Naomi instructs Ruth to take notice where Boaz is bedding down for the night, but keep out of sight, out of view of people. Then in verse 7 to 11, she tells her, after Boaz has eaten and drank, his heart is cheerful with wine. And yes, they did drink wine. They didn't drink grape juice. Then go and uncover his feet and lay next to him. But this should be translated as legs. And when she did lay down, she did do nothing more. The likely purpose of this was to propose marriage, which was a custom, most likely in that time period, but we don't really know. And most likely it had something to do with a kinsman redeemer for Naomi. Then in verse 8, Boaz was startled awake by a young woman laying next to his legs. This is a submissive place for someone to be lying. He asked, "Who are you?" She said, "I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative." Again, she was saying, "I am a widow. Take me as your wife." She is asking for protection for her and her mother-in-law. Understand that the wings can also symbolize the wings of Yahweh, because the wings of Yahweh are also covering Boaz. And Boaz is then would be covering Ruth because of his faithfulness to Father's ways. And in return, Yahweh promises protection. This can be seen in Ezekiel 16:8 and also in Psalms 91:4. Now continuing on to verses 12 to 13, we see that Boaz was quite flattered, and then he blessed her. Then after the blessing, he informs her there is a relative closer than he is. He is not going to disregard his rights as the other kinsman redeemer. So he told her he would meet with him today, the other kinsman redeemer, at the city gate, and get the matter resolved. So he told her, "Do not be afraid. I will do all that you have asked and requested." And keep in mind, they do not know what the outcome will be. Again, he told her he's going to act responsible towards the closer relative by asking him if he could do his duty as kinsman redeemer for Naomi and Ruth. But if he cannot, Boaz said that he would perform the duty as their kinsman redeemer. Then he told Ruth to lie down until morning. Then early in the morning, Boaz told her she needed to leave early before anybody could recognize each other, because her leaving during the day, others would recognize her and might get the wrong idea. But Boaz's kindness did not end there. He dumped 6 measures of barley into her shawl, and most likely it was her outer garment, because it was around 100 pounds for her to take home to Naomi. When Ruth got home, she told Naomi what had happened that night. When Naomi saw the gift of grain, she knew exactly what Boaz was going to do. Boaz was going to marry her if the other kinsman redeemer couldn't. With all that has happened between Boaz, Naomi, and Ruth, they still don't know what the outcome was going to be. But the outcome was going to be Ruth was going to have a new husband. That's the end of chapter 3. I'd like to thank everybody that got to this point of the video. And if you do like my videos, please hit the thumbs up. That lets me know that you're enjoying these videos. And we'll continue on to chapter 4 next time.